At this point we need to run a actual SQL query on the query results form based on the SQL we get from the main form. And since the since the query results form runs in a different process space, we need to go through the same process of adding the reference to the DLL for the MySql connector, which apparently I've already done. And then adding the reference to using MySql data.mysql client. Then we need to add our usual 3 lines of establishing the connection string to the local host and the DVD database with the username and password, and the global variables of MySql connection and MySql command. Then within the form load for the query results, we need to add code that first of all establishes a ListView item, LVI, and then initializes MySql data reader, MDR. We can comment out the message box since we're now replacing the stub routine with a real subroutine. And then we need to clear the ListView with a items.clear. We want to get rid of this. No, we don't, because we're in the form load. Then we need to establish the MySql connection based on the connection string and create a MySql command based on the SQL we retrieved from form main, and then create a MySql data reader based on the command object. And then we do our loop through the data reader, and this time we're just adding the text field. We're not adding any subview items, and we're adding a tag, and the text field is based on the title field of the query we got from the main form, and the tag is based on the DVD ID we got from the main form. So we have the title and the tag associated with each other within the ListView. And then once we've built the tag and the text for the ListView item, we add it to our actual ListView control with the items.add and the ListView as a parameter. And of course we put all this within a try-catch block, so if the open or the select fails, we'll print out the message as to why it failed. So if we save this and compile and run it and hit query, you see we get the query list box populated by the past SQL. But there's definitely a couple changes we need to make to the list box. First we need to make it a list view, and then we also need to change multi-select. Well, multi-select is already true, so that's good. So now if we run this and we press query, This looks a lot more readable. Well, the final thing we want to do in the query results is give the edit button a more meaningful name. And then double click on it to create a event handler for the button click. And add code to basically go through and look at all the selected items in the query result list view. And to do this, we have an int of nrec key, which is going to hold the ID that's associated with the tag of the list view items. And then we have an int I that's set to 0 in a for loop. And we say as long as I is less than ListView query results dot selected items dot count, which is a property that gives the number of selected items. We go through the for loop and auto increment the I each time we do. And within the for loop, we get the ListView query results selected items for that index dot tag, so we get the tag property of that selected item. And right now I'm just popping up a message box that says what the DVD record ID is, but needless to say, in the future we're going to use this to actually edit records. So this is sort of a stub routine, but it's a stub routine with quite a bit of code. So let's save and run this. And once again execute the query and select several items, first by clicking and then holding down Control and clicking, so we get a number of different selected items. And then if we press the edit button, we get a message box with the record ID of the first item, record ID of the second item, record ID of the third item, record ID of the fourth item, record ID of the fifth item, and that's it. So in the next video we're going to look at actually editing these records we've selected in the query results. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a lot, and I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe.